I'm joined today by Subedra Reddy, who's Executive Head of Actuarial Services at NBC Holdings. Subedra, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Chris.
We're going to be discussing the two-pot system, but what I want us to focus on today is looking at specifically a member and the impact
Mm.
this will have if a member accesses his savings from the pot. How much will that affect them going forward? So
Mm.
if you can unpack some of that for us, I'd be delighted.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. I think to start off with, I think members have to realize that the two-pot system is not a gift or a bonus
Yeah.
or something that's coming for free. It is something that does come at a cost. And the cost is that you are paying for a benefit now with your retirement benefit in the future. So anything you take out from your savings pot, any withdrawal that you make, means that you're going to have less when it comes to retirement age. So when you eventually decide to retire one day in the future, and you're no longer working, you're depending entirely on your retirement savings. And if you've taken out money earlier, unfortunately, that money is not going to be available. So I'll put together a quick analysis or a short analysis that just helps members to understand by how much lower the benefits will be because of accessing their savings pot under the two-pot system. So I think it's probably something that's a bit complicated to know exactly how much my benefit will drop by. I think people can understand that there will be a drop, but if you actually look at the numbers, that drop can be quite significant. Um, and the problem is, once you reach retirement age, how do you make up that gap? You know, um, and many people who find themselves in that situation have to try and make up that gap either by then deferring their retirement, trying to find alternate forms of employment, relying on their families, relying on the government pension, none of which is ideal, and it can mean, unfortunately, that a number of people retire without sufficient savings, which is a significant problem now, and can still be a significant problem even under the two-pot system.
Right.
Yeah. So let me just, I'll just share those slides and we can go through that analysis. What I've done is I've done some projections. So I take an example of a member. Member's name is Sipo. He's 20 years old and he's just joining a fund. So he's just starting employment and is joining a fund. So he's starting off with a benefit of 0. I'm going to assume that he will retire at age 60, that he's going to start off earning a salary of 20,000 Rand a month. And he's going to contribute 12% to retirement savings. So after all deductions for expenses and insurance benefits, there's a net amount of 12% going towards retirement savings. So what we're going to do then is see how the two-pot system is going to impact SIPO. First of all, we look at what will his benefit be like without the two-pot system. So without the two-pot system, if this member were to stay in the fund all the way until 60, so 40 years of service, he would end up with a pension of about 17,000 Rand a month, or an 85% replacement ratio. So if you think about it, if you were earning a salary of about 20,000 Rand a month, you probably can retire on a pension of about 17,000 Rand a month. And that should be enough for you to retire at the same standard of living as when you were working. Now let's bring the two-pot system into this and see what happens to that pension of 17,000 Rand a month. So we obviously know it's going to drop because of him taking money out from his savings pot, but how much will it drop by? So let's look at his first year. So in his first year, Sipo is going to accumulate about 10,000 Rand in his savings pot. So he'll have 20,000 Rand in his retirement pot. He'll have 10,000 Rand in his savings pot. And he faces a decision at the end of that year. How much do I take out from my savings pot? And he can take out anything from 0, so he doesn't have to take out anything, all the way up to the full balance of 10,000 Rand that's in his savings pot. Let's just say he takes out the full 10,000 Rand. Thereafter, every year, he's faced with that same decision, and every year he decides, I'm going to take out everything from my savings pot, which means that over his 40 years of working, he's only really accumulating benefits in his retirement pot, and his savings pot drops down to zero every year. So under that scenario, what sort of pension does he have? So his pension drops from 17,000 Rand a month to 11,300 Rand a month, or his replacement ratio from 85% to 57%. That's a very, very significant drop. So if you think that SIPO could retire on 17,000 Rand a month, it would be very difficult to retire on 11,300 Rand. So that's 6,000 Rand a month less than under the scenario where he was not accessing the savings pot. So that is really a very, very big drop. And it does show that if you are taking out everything from your savings pot, so if you withdraw 100% from your savings pot, you're almost guaranteeing that when you reach normal retirement age, you're not going to have enough. And that's even with working for 40 years. So in this scenario, remember, Sipo has worked at his company for 40 years. He has saved and contributed and earned investment returns for 40 years. But because he's taken out everything from that savings pot, he's almost guaranteeing that in the future, he's not going to have enough to retire. So that is quite a scary thought, Chris.
Yeah.
So the next scenario I want to show is, instead of taking out everything from his savings pot, let's say he takes out half of what's available. So if you think about that first year, we said he's got 10,000 Rand in his savings pot. So instead of taking out the full 10,000 Rand, he takes out 5,000 Rand. So he leaves 5,000 Rand in the savings pot. And every year, he makes a similar decision in that he takes out half of whatever's available in his savings pot. So under that scenario, what sort of pension will he get when he retires? And we can see here under this, he'll end up with a pension of about 14,000 Rand a month, or a replacement ratio of about 71%. So this obviously is not as good as the 17,000 Rand a month pension, but I think it's a lot better than the 11,000 Rand a month pension. So I think it's very possible that SIPO can retire on this pension of 14,200 Rand a month. So what this shows is that you can take out money from your savings pot. It's not as if it's something that you never have to access, but you can take out a portion that will mean that you still have enough left when you reach retirement age. And what I would suggest is that remember the whole idea of allowing access from the savings pot was to help members in terms of emergencies. So if, for example, you're in a car accident, if, for example, you have a heart attack, if, for example, one of your children has an important educational need, then you can take out money from the savings pot instead of incurring debt, but not necessarily take out everything. So if you do use the savings pot in a disciplined manner, if you use it in a planned manner and you use it for emergencies, then what you can do is make sure that you're not taking out too much, and in fact, you leave behind enough so that one day, when you retire, you actually will have enough.
Right.
So the question is, how much should I take out? Well, obviously, these are just some scenarios, some examples. But I would suggest, for each individual member, they probably need to get some form of advice from a retirement benefits counselor or a financial planner that will help them to realize exactly how will the two-pot system impact my benefit and how much will I be left with when it comes to retirement savings.
Thanks, Subedra. That was very interesting. Yeah, a couple of observations just on what you've said is the obviously the impact is very clear. If you do take all of it or half of it, even it does make an impact. And I believe we had on one of the previous shows, we were talking about the legislation. The wording in the legislation was apparently changed as well, and to take out the word emergencies, in case of emergencies. That's been removed from the legislation, and that for me is a bit of a concern because, the point needs to come across perhaps stronger. And I think that's where communication is going to be crucial in this thing leading up. And already industry is getting a lot of queries from members, wanting, expressing interest in taking money and all of that. And I'm just concerned that, they don't do it for the right reasons. So that's one concern. And the other concern is obviously, the amount of work and the ability to reach members, perhaps in time before they start claiming, because the moment they reach our doorstep and they start filling in forms and they want to do this thing, their mind's made up already. So I think there has to be a lot of communication in the run-up to two parts to explain this scenario that you just sketched out to me to members more clearly, so that they understand the impact of what they're about to do, especially people that have direct access to members, i.e. the fund administrators, consultants, etc. But there's also us in the media, that need to carry this narrative and carry this message out there. Because I think we've all got a collective responsibility, to get this message out and keep talking about it so that people understand what this is and the impact it can have and will have when they do access these benefits. All right, so Subedra, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I think we need to maybe re-engage a little bit more on this going forward and have follow-up sessions, because, as I said, the communication part is really critical, and bringing this kind of message like the one you've shown us today is really important. So thank you for that, and we'll certainly chat in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to see you. Keep well.
100%. Thank you.